guys, welcome back to my channel. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure and subscribe. Today, I brought you the Grill Meister now. One of my subscribers wanted to know how to make a chef hat, so I thought I'd tie chef hat, Memorial Day, Father's Day, all into one. If you want to know how to make them, stick around. I'll show you how. And if you want to learn how to make the grill, I've got that video coming as well. Thanks for watching. Okay, for this gnome, you're going to need the pattern. You can download him in the description below. You're going to need some fabric for the body and the apron and then the hat. You're going to need a ribbon, a pool noodle, and it measures 5 inches in length, a couple of noodles for your hair, a couple of beads, a nose, a pair of feet, some sticks, some fur, some craft fabric, and a needle and thread. And you are going to need a little bit of weighted beads. Okay, let's get started. First of all, we're going to go ahead and cut out my pattern. I cut out the hat and then the brim for the hat. I'm ironing the brim and I'm going to go ahead and fold it over on 3 sides, 1 short side and 2 long sides, and this will make it a little bit easier to get glued in there really, really well. So just glue those, just iron those up real good. This will make it a little bit easier when you're gluing it. And in a little bit, when I do glue it, I was going to show you too, if you turn it inside out when you're gluing it, it'll make it a little bit easier. You'll see I struggled a little bit when I did mine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make the top part of the hat. Just take a needle and thread, and go ahead and thread your needle, and then tie a knot off at the end. And then we're going to do a single stitch all the way around that hat so we can gather it up. Just a single stitch straight through all the way around, because we're going to gather it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, probably 1/4 inch stitches is what I did on mine. And go ahead and take the brim again, open it up. We're going to fold over the side that was not ironed over. We're going to put some glue down the side that was, and we're just going to attach that to make a loop. And then we're going to go ahead and sew in the edges that we ironed over to make a nice seam along the edge. Go all the way around on both sides. It's just going to make it really easy for our hat to look good when we get done. It's almost going to look sewn by the time we get done making this hat with glue. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull that real tight, get it as tight as we can. And then we're going to go ahead and take that and put it inside of our brim. And we're going to keep gathering it till it's completely the same size as that brim. And kind of gather it, move it out so it's, you know, spaced out about evenly, and go ahead and start pinning this in. We're not going to sew it, but we're going to pin it in to glue it. Just keep gathering it until it's evenly spaced all the way around. And I need some sharper pins. I'm having trouble struggling there. Alright, once you get it all done, go ahead and tie that off. And then we're going to start gluing it in. And go ahead and remove your pins as you're gluing it in. Otherwise you will glue your pins in. Okay, we're just going to go around the edge there, just like as if you were sewing on a sewing machine. And we're going to glue all that in and push it down really good so that all of it gets glued down. We want each one of those little pleats to get glued all the way down. Take your time on this step. It's really an important step. Your hat will look great. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and turn it right side out. Take our brim and just glue over the edge of it with it. And push that the edge of the part that you just glued, push it down into there. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and build his body. You can take 2 of each of these patterns and cut them out for the legs. And we're going to take opposite sides and glue them together. And we're only going to glue at the top part. Don't glue down the leg part yet. Just a bead of glue around there. And do the same thing for the other one. Just on the top part. Okay, then we're going to open those up and we're going to glue those two sides together with fronts facing each other. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and glue the legs together. We're going to glue them down both sides. And then we're going to glue around the inside inseam of the leg as well. Just make sure it's glued really, really good so when we turn it right side out, it's still all intact. And then we're just going to open up the inseam. Make sure that the seams down the middle of the front and the back of the pants are matching. And just glue around that inseam. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and cuff them up so that we have a nice trimmed edge on our pants. Turn it up and then we're just going to glue it down. And then we're going to do the same thing for both sides. Just turn it up about 1/4 of an inch. And then just glue it in. And then we're going to do the same thing for the top. Even though you're not going to see the top part underneath the shirt, I'm going to go ahead and do it so it looks good in case somebody were to look up underneath the shirt. Just glue that all the way around. And if you're sewing, on all of my patterns, I'm using about 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around on all of them. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn him right side out. And then we're going to go ahead and build his legs up. Now this is a part that you don't want to skip on the legs. Even though you're not going to see them, they won't stay attached to the body if you don't. Just take your noodle. We're going to cut it at 2 3/4 of an inch. Take your stick and stick it in there, and those are 1/4 inch by 4 1/2. And I'm going to go ahead and put some beads in the front part of the foot because I tried the balancing on them, and it needs some balance in the front. Not a lot, just fill up the toe part. And then go ahead and put your pool noodle in there. And not your pool noodle, but your hair noodle. And then I tested the balance on this once I got it in, and I had to come back and put some foam into the back of his feet. So just take some of the little craft foam, push it in there, and then just make sure that his legs stand straight up. You don't want them curved backwards or you'll have a balancing issue. So go ahead and stuff that in there and make those legs stick straight up. And then when you put it onto the pool noodle, you're going to put it towards the back a little bit. Okay, we're going to go ahead and build our legs. Go ahead and fold up the seams. And you really don't have to do this part because you're not going to see them. But if you have strings hanging off your fabric that come out from underneath the pant leg, you'll see it. Go ahead and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it on there on this one. You don't have to have the seam in the back. But you do need to have the foot glued to the fabric. So the top part of the foot, we're gluing it to the fabric. This will just all hold it together real good if somebody ever tried to pull your leg off of your gnome. Believe me, it has happened to me. Okay, and go ahead and do that to this other side as well. And we're going to wrap that around that leg as well. And we're doing these so that we can attach them to the foam and they'll stay together. But be sure and include the top part of that foot into that glued in area. Then we're going to cut little slits in it right down the center of them. And this is what's going to attach it to our pool noodle. Just, maybe 4 slits on each one. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to see it once you get those pants on. Okay, now take our pool noodle and we're going to go just a little bit. Our holes on our pool noodle are going to just be a little bit behind the center. And you can see on my pool noodle, I practiced a lot to get some balance on it before I did my video. Okay, go ahead and put those into your noodle and start adding your glue and adding those little strips of fabric to the noodle. If you put the glue on the fabric, it won't melt your noodle as bad. And just make those strips go all the way up, and we're going to seal those up. And that way you make sure that those legs stay on there. You don't have to have all those straps if you don't want to. You can cut some of them off. Alright, once I got him all glued on, I'm going to go ahead and put his pants on. And we're going to pull them on up, and we're going to tie a string around them. Then after we tie our string, we're going to go back in and we're going to glue the pants to the body. And what this does, it just keeps it a little bit more secured to the body so that when you put the shirt on, you don't see the waist of the pants through the top. It's really good if you're using a thinner material. Okay, we're going to go ahead and build his body. We're going to take the two pieces of fabric, and we're going to put them on facing sides together to glue them. And then we're going to go ahead and hem up the bottom of the shirt, about 1/4 inch on both sides. And then we're going to measure onto the body. We want the shirt to come probably about 1/4 inch below the bottom of the noodle. So we're going to measure, and we are going to measure 2 3/4 inches up. And we're going to make a mark on our shirt at 2 3/4. And then another one at 1/2 inch, just above it. And that's where our arms are going to come through. So we want to glue everything except for those 2 openings. And leave those 2 openings open to put our arms through. And just glue up above them and down below them, but do not glue in that area that you have marked. And if you want, I didn't do this, if you want to, you could go ahead and poke a hole in your noodle at that same marking. I didn't do it, but you can do it now if you want to before you put it on the shirt. Okay, take another one of those hair noodles, and we're just going to cut it in half. And we're going to leave our wires in them. And then we're going to go ahead and make our arms. Okay, we're just going to take and do a 1/4 inch seam down the bottom of it. And then a 1/4 inch seam along the side as well, so that we have a nice trimmed out edge when we put our arms on. And I said that we're going to need 2 of the beads for the hands. We only need 1 because one of the arms is not going to have a hand. It's going to have an oven mitt, and so we don't want to put that bead on there. Okay, we're going to just take our noodle and put our bead in front and put our noodle down, and we're going to just glue those in. And then we're going to go ahead and glue that all the way down the side, a little bit on the top, and then we're going to glue that edge in. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. On this one, I did decide to go ahead and trim a little V at the edge of the noodle so that I didn't have so much meat on the noodle, so that when I put the oven mitt on there, it was easier to get it onto there. Okay, and just glue that on and glue that down and glue that side down as well. Okay, now that our arms are done, we're going to go ahead and take our shirt, turn it right side out. We're going to put it onto our gnome. It's going to look a little bit blousy, but by the time you get done with the apron and everything like that, it's not going to look so blousy. Okay, pull it on down till it's about 1/4 inch below the edge of the noodle. And we're going to feel inside of these openings, and that's where we're going to attach our arms. Just pull that back where you have the wire sticking out. Turn that wire straight, and we're just going to glue that in. Now be careful not to put too much of that wire into the noodle. Otherwise you're going to lose your bendability on the arm. I put a little bit much there, and I had to kind of squeeze it back out. So maybe, at the most 1/4 inch, and then you're going to take the shirt back and then glue the noodle to it. And it melts a little bit, so you can go ahead and push that noodle into the other noodle and it'll hold in there really, really well. But remember, don't put too much of the wire in there. You're going to lose your bendability on his hand. If you think you need more wire for that, then you could go back and add some wire in the void where you used too much wire. Go ahead and stick that in there, and we're going to pull it back and put plenty of glue on this part because you want it to hold really, really good. And then go ahead and push that on in there for his hands. Make sure you add plenty of glue. You'll never see it. Okay, pull the shirt on down. We're going to take a string and tie off the top part. And I'm just using one of those clear rubber bands to tie off the top. And then in a little bit, we're going to tie it off with a string. Just make sure your shirt doesn't get pulled up. You need to adjust it at this point. And then go ahead and glue around the arms on that shirt on both sides. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and build the apron. And I cut my apron out on the edge of the fabric because it was already a nice seam on it. Like that. If you didn't do that, you will need to fold up 1/4 of an inch on the bottom. So you're going to fold up both sides and the bottom if you don't already have a nice edge. Then we're going to turn it down about 1/2 inch. Glue that down real good, and then we're going to add a ribbon to tie it onto his body. Just take your ribbon. Mine's probably about 24 inches. You can just measure around your gnome and see how long you want it, and just put it in the center and glue it in. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and build his beard. We're going to take our faux fur. We're going to draw our beard around the faux fur, and then we're going to cut through the backing only, all the way around that beard to cut that out. Then we're going to take the excess fur and get it off of there. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and attach our apron to our body, and this is where it'll make your shirt look so blousy. And we're just going to tie a knot in the back and then tie a bow. And then I'm going to take a lighter. I'm going to trim off my edges, and I'm going to take a lighter, and I'm just going to lightly burn the edges to keep that ribbon from fraying. Just be careful on this part. Just a little bit of light heat to it, and it'll keep it from fraying. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and tie off the top with a string just to make sure it's secure. Because those rubber bands, they do not last. And then trim that piece off. Then trim the top part off. Fold it back, and then just glue that down all the way around. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and attach his hat. So we can see exactly where we need to put our beard. Pull it on down. Almost to the top of his arms. And then stick your beard underneath that hat. And then we'll pull our hat back off once we get exactly where we want it. And we'll go ahead and trim it and go ahead and glue it in. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and add his nose. And then we'll put his hat back on. So take a bead, put some glue on it, and then just attach it to the center top part of the nose, of the beard. Okay, then pull his hat on down around his beard. And we're going to come up over his nose. And then we're going to put a little bit of glue right up at the top part of his nose. And then we're going to glue some spots around his hat just to hold it in. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and build his oven mitts. You can cut this out of the SVG file if you want to. Just attach those two pieces together, leaving an opening in the middle to put his hand in. And these are going to be where his thumbs would normally be. Just going to glue those together. And then glue those on. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and build his flip-flops. Make sure you have 2 matching pieces for each side. And we're going to glue those together. If you cut these out with the Cricut, be sure and use the knife blade, not the deep knife blade that they suggest. Because it gives jagged edges around the edge if you use that. And then just put your pressure at more so it does 2 cuts. Okay, we're just going to measure across. We're measuring across the bottom and drawing that line. Right where his toes are. You can put his foot up on there and see where you want his strap to be. then match them up, make sure they're both the same, and draw a line across there as well. And that's going to give us a good guide where to do, when we turn them over, where the strap part goes. So we're just going to turn it over and attach our strap to both sides. Don't worry if you get glue on it and you can see the glue, because we're going to cover that up here in a little bit. And that's where I'm checking to make sure I got my shoes right. So make sure you got a right and a left. Don't make them and then have two rights. Okay, just gluing that strap on. And then glue it to the other side as well. Foam, this glue works really good on this foam because it is really hard to tear it apart. So these will stay together. Sorry I got out of the camera right there, but I'm just holding it till it dries. And do the same thing for the other side as well. Okay, then we're going to take the long strip and we're going to go all the way around and glue it down. Okay, then we're going to take our long strips and we're glue them all the way around. You're going to need to hold these. I went a little bit fast in the video. I sped it up a little bit, but you need to make sure that you hold these down really, really well till they get completely glued down, so you don't have any gaps between your shoe and the strap. Just go all the way around the edge of that and glue it down. And then we're going to do the same thing for both sides. I'm just kind of checking fitment on there, make sure it looks good. And you can put your strap wherever you want to. I just put my strap across there. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and glue that strip across as well. Just go all the way around the strip and then just take it and glue it down. I did the other one all the way straight down, but I'm doing a little bit at a time on this one because the glue tended to dry a little bit, and I had to go back and add a little bit more. So just do a little bit at a time on the glue until you get all the way around it. And don't worry so much about the glue. I sat there and picked at it for a little bit. But I'm going to show you a trick to cover all that up here in just a second. And you may already know it. Okay, just make sure that's really glued good. You don't want to skimp on this part here. You want to take your time and make sure it gets glued down good. Because these are going to be a big focal part of your gnome. Okay, then I just went ahead and made sure all my pieces were in good, and then I grabbed a Sharpie. And I just colored it in like a coloring book. Color every bit of the bottom. Go ahead and color in around it, but you're going to have to color in the whole entire bottom of the shoe. I first went around the edge and you could see it, but once I went back in and colored it completely in, it looks awesome. And you can do it around the sides. You can do it across the top too if you want to. I didn't see a need to, so I just got it colored in real good on both of them. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and attach the oven mitt to the gnome. Just open it up. Put his hand in there. I put his thumb up like he was going to be holding the pan. Then I went ahead and added a little bit glue inside of his hand, because you want to make sure that that does not come off. So get it glued in good, and then we're going to put his flip-flops on. Going to add a little bit of glue to the bottom of his foot. We're going to do one at a time and just glue him in really, really good. Alright, and that's pretty much then you're done. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see future videos, hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified when I have another video, hit the bell. There you have it, a cute little Grill Meister gnome. Thanks for watching.